worshiping with us. You can have a seat.
Good morning, Life Ridge. Man, so glad that you're here this morning. I'm glad you're awake. It's good to be here. Man, today we continue a series called The Greatest Sermon. And it's about Jesus' teaching in the Sermon on the Mount. And last week I started off and we went through 4 of the Beatitudes. And I realized this week in just kind of reflection, I'm like, you never really explained a Beatitude, Chris. And so this morning, I just want you to understand as we teach through these attributes of what it looks like to live in God's kingdom. A beatitude is just a declaration of blessing. It's God saying, hey, you are living like you should be living, right? This is who's blessed. This is why they're blessed. And really what's important about the Beatitudes is understanding that they're consecutive. They stack upon one another. And last week we started off with blessed are the poor. And some of us walked away with like, man, I don't want to be poor. I like having things, right? I like having a nice car or a dependable car. I like having a little bit of money in my checking account, right? Like we immediately go to kind of those things. And that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about those who are spiritually poor. Like those who recognize their desperate need for Jesus. Not occasionally, not on Sundays, but hourly. Minute by minute, daily, you need Jesus. You're this place where it's like, I recognize that without him, I'm nothing. I recognize that I need him for everything, that he is life, right? Like, so we can't experience any of the other blessings without first understanding that what's required of us is this acknowledgement that we are poor spiritually. And now, understanding that means we have everything in Christ. But it's this constant pull that I there's a hymn, prone to wonder, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Like, here's my heart, Lord, take and heal it. Seal it for like, I could go, I start singing for you. You would leave in just a minute, right? You know, like I pull hymnal number set. No, just kidding. I'm not going to get it. But we, as people, like we're prone to be like, I'm good. I got this, right? We step out of God's blessing the moment we recognize, the moment we start living on our own dependence, right? So the first one we talked about was blessed are the poor and realize their need for him. But we're going to jump in today and just kind of talking about poor. What makes this difficult, what makes this kind of hard for us as Christ followers in the world we live in is that we all want to follow Jesus until it costs us something. Like, it's like, wait a minute, I gotta be needy? I got to depend upon God? Like, what if God doesn't answer when I want him to answer? What if he doesn't show up when I want him to show up? What if I don't get what I want? Like, it might cost you something. That's when it starts to get difficult. And then we live in a culture that literally praises the opposite of what God praises, okay? It praises being right. I mean, just think about it. Like, think about the desire sometimes to make people realize they're right. You know, like, I told you so is a famous statement of I'm right, you're wrong, don't forget it. You know, like that's, we don't usually say it that way. And if you do, you probably have no friends. But nonetheless, you can laugh a little bit at that. If I sound like a really mean person if you don't laugh. We live in a culture though that does praise being right, not being merciful. Merciful is seen as weak. Right is seen as correct, leader, authority, power, right? We live in a culture that rewards being liked or having followers, not living like purity or pure or living a life of standards or morals. We live in a world that celebrates winning, not making peace. Like winning is everything, right? Like there's first place and then there's second loser, right? Like winning is everything to us. And so creating peace or fighting for peace, that's kind of like seen as secondary, right? We celebrate fitting in, not standing out. This is culture, right? And so I just want us to wrestle with the question as we jump into the next text today. What happens when obedience to Jesus makes your life harder, not easier? Now, this is the hard part for me. Like growing up, like following Jesus was like that decision you needed to make because your life will be better. Your life will be better if you follow Jesus. Just surrender to him and your life will be better. I was never taught that, hey, your life might get harder following Jesus. It might not be easier if you decide to follow Jesus. So just ask yourself the question, what happens when obedience to Jesus makes your life harder, not easier? What do you do? Because when we hear the word blessing, we assume some things. Like when we hear like a blessing, we assume comfort. Like I'm living a life of blessing. I've got everything I could ever want. It's perfect, right? It's dreamy. When we think of blessing, we think of approval. We think of, man, I'm being seen. I'm being noticed. They're giving me their blessing. Like I'm doing it right. This is how wonderful people should live. This is the greatest thing ever. We assume blessing is success or even ease. That's what comes to mind. But Jesus describes blessing in a way that almost is backwards. Definitely counterculture. Mercy over judgment, purity over popularity, peace over power, faithfulness even when there's persecution. Those things don't line up for us. And so as we jump in the day, I want you to know that the first four that we addressed are definitely some internal things, ways for us to see, okay, this is how I'm living in the kingdom. When I realize this is what I'm in the kingdom. These next few I want you to see as mile markers. Now, I love mile markers. If you don't love mile markers, you're lost, okay? Like mile markers do so much for us. They tell us where we are. And if you can do math quickly, they tell you how fast you're going, all right? Mile markers remind us of things. They tell us, hey, you're not where you used to be, but you still got some road ahead of you, right? Like they do work for us. In my mind, mile markers remind me of some things. If I'm coming from Atlanta or like where family lives here, I know that mile marker 155 on 16 means I'm almost home. It's Fuller Parkway. I've always seen 155. Okay, and so when I'm going to Atlanta, 155 is a long way, but I know I'm working down to 0, right? So every number is one step closer to getting off of the dreaded Highway 16, right? I also know that there's a certain mile marker. That's this area called Dublin. That's where you slow down, okay? Just go to speed limit in those areas, right? Like mile markers tell me that. Like you're getting close. I don't need an exit to tell me. I know the mile markers. I know there's a certain mile marker that has a new gas station, a racetrack, and a Chick-fil-A side by side. Best exit ever on Highway 16, right? That's what mile markers do. They remind me of where I am, where I used to be, and where I'm going. They lead me ahead, all right? So today, as we jump into these Beatitudes, I want you to think mile markers. And each mile marker is going to remind you of something. And as we discuss this, I just want you to listen. Some of these might be like, got nothing. And some of these might hook you. And in just a moment, we'll talk about one. Like this week while studying, it hooked. It grabbed a hold of my heart. And it was like God was saying, Chris, this is for you. And please know, as I teach you this, I am learning too. This is God's work in my life. And so just hang tight. If one sticks, hang on to it. Process it this week. Don't leave it. But nonetheless, we're going to jump in. So mile markers, we're heading forward. We're looking for them. Matthew 5:7 says this: God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Mercy is giving people what they don't deserve. And mercy is probably the hardest one for me. There's a part of me that's you didn't deserve that. You didn't earn that. I'm sorry, let me use my right word. You didn't earn it, so you don't get it, right? I kind of live in this mindset of where praise comes with earning it. If you're doing normal things, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to be normal. Anything over normal receives, I'll acknowledge it. Mercy is giving something that someone does not deserve. The world says, make them pay. Jesus says, set them free. Mercy is something that we all, I believe we all internally have to work for. We have to think about. We have to naturally, hey, What am I holding on to? What am I keeping in my mind? If you think of the world we live in today, we are quick to acknowledge. Do you remember when? You remember when you said that, did that? Like, we are really good at not forgetting other people's harmful deeds or hurtful deeds to us. We can remember the day someone said something. We can remember the moment we were hurt. We can remember the situation that we were walking in when this was done to us, or how it was done, or when someone said something else. I mean, look. Okay, listen. Like we're heading into like one of those political seasons where there's gonna be all these commercials of reminding us of who these people have been. And I've never, in my many years of life, no numbers are allowed anymore. In my many years of life, I've never seen a commercial that's like, hey, this person's actually really, really good. They're just a decent human being who love people. They're going to be a public servant who are helpful. No, it's all bashing, right? Because we as a culture know how to remind people of how horrible they've been. But God's kingdom is different. It's not the same as the world. And so one of the markers of living in God's kingdom is someone who shows mercy. Mercy reflects the heart of God. We don't give mercy to earn it, right? We don't give it because then we get more of it. No, we give it because it's been given. Like we've received it. The first mile marker in God's kingdom is, do you give out mercy? Do you let go? Do you release? And by no means, listen, this is not easy. This is where like work comes in. We value at LifeBridge practice versus perfection. Like anything you want to be good at, you practice. Elites practice, right? Like the best of the best practice. Why? Because they recognize they're not perfect. I got work to do. So the first one we get to is merciful. Can you be merciful? You'll be shown mercy. Mile marker 1. We'll go for number 2. It says this in verse 8. God blesses those whose hearts are pure, for they will see God. When we think of the word pure, sometimes like our minds maybe think of like intent or motive, like pure motives, right? I want to kind of move us off of that and think of words like unpolluted or free from contamination. I want you to think of like not diluted, right? I have this jug at my house. It's Clorox, right? And this Clorox is concentrate. So if you were to pour all this Clorox into a bottle and spray it, it'd probably like eat through your countertop. Like it'd just devour it, right? If it were to get on your clothes, it'd immediately turn them white. But it's like 1 part Clorox and then 3 parts water to make a bottle. And the beauty is I get like 500 bottles out of this thing, but nonetheless, it's awesome. Not selling Clorox to anybody, but it's the first thing that came to my mind was going to be diluted. We dilute it so that it's inappropriate. If I were to use a full concentrate, you'd walk in my house and be like a hospital. You know, like, oh my gosh, what is that smell? We dilute it, but when it comes to what God blesses, he doesn't want a diluted version of you. He doesn't want a partial part of you. He doesn't want 1 part of you and while 3 parts of the world has you, right? He wants every single bit of you. This is the purity that he desires. A heart that is fully his. When we say like morally clean, think about it. It's like free from guilt, sin, shame, because you're wholly his. When these things enter in, guilt or shame, sin, we're living a divided lifestyle. All right? When we have to hide something, we're living a divided lifestyle. When we do something, we hope no one else finds out, you're living a divided lifestyle, right? Just think about it. Like, hey, you know, here's my church friends, and we're good, and you're hanging out at your church. You want to go do what those people are doing, but those people, what they're doing, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't, but I really want to. And so I'm going to like secretly go over here and do this and hope no one sees me, right? This is where guilt comes in. This is where sin enters in. This is where we have shame because now we have something that we don't want anybody to know about. Now we got to hide it or create more lies to cover it. This is a diluted life. This is a life that's partial. God, you got some of me, but the world has some of me also. When you think about this beatitude or this desire, a heart that's pure, I want you to think no competing loyalties. Like nothing can steal you away. Growing up in high school, I started paying for my own haircuts, right? My mom went to a place that was really expensive. Like haircuts were $100, like every time $100. I'm like, to chop off my hair? So I went to Supercuts because Supercuts gave high schoolers, if you were a high school student, they gave haircuts for $10. And I usually had $10, right? Like that's perfect. I can do this. Well, you get older and you're like, okay, now I got a little more money. But there's this part of me that was like, I'm loyal to this place. And this place went through different managers, different haircut people, constantly changing. But for something about me, it was like, this is comfort. They were good to me. I wasn't going anywhere else. Jamie's like, hey, you should come to we were married now. You should come let this person cut your hair. For $40? No, I don't have that much. I ain't doing it, right? Now Jamie cuts my hair because I'm cheap, right? So if you make fun of my hair, you make fun of my wife. Don't do it, right? But there's a part of me that was always like loyal, to a cell phone company. They were good to me. I'm loyal to them. A car company, manufacturer. I just like this brand, right? I'm loyal. Every one of us have these things that we're just naturally loyal to. It's a part of our wiring. It's how God put us into play. Like, hey, there's things in you that you're just loyal to. And what he's teaching and revealing to us is that, listen, what I want from you is an undivided loyalty. That's a pure heart. And the beauty of a pure heart is that what we get in reward. When our heart's pure, we get intimacy. We get closeness with God. We get to be in his presence, not afraid, not fearful, not worry, no doubt, no insecurity. We get to be with him. Think about Adam and Eve way back when, in the beginning of time, or at least with our world. Before the fall, before sin entered, they got to just be in his presence. They didn't worry about what the next day held. They were concerned about what was going on around them. There was no fear of what might or what may. There was peace in his presence. And that's all they needed. When we live in purity, when we have an undivided loyalty, we get his intimacy. God, come what may, you've got this. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries of its own, right? I trust that you're present. Man, a heart that's pure experiences God like no other. And number 3, he says this. Number three, my notes. Verse 8. Verse 9. Here we go. God blesses those who, I got to engage with this for a minute, who work for peace. I don't want you to forget this. So if you have a Bible, do what I'm doing, okay? This one's a little interesting, all right? So we all long for peace. Okay, can I make this any bigger of a deal, right? Can everybody see this? Okay, don't forget this, okay? God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called children of God. All right, so just listen. I was studying this week. So how I write is I write out I have a formula, just so everybody knows. My formula is tension, truth, application. That's how I write. What's the tension? What's God's word speak to that tension? And what would it look if we apply it to our life? Very simple, right? So when I'm writing a series, I just throw out a quick tension, truth, application. And then I come back in and I fill in all the stuff. So I wrote this series out, a few months ago. Had it kind of laid out, was ready and excited. And then last week, as I'm recapping, catching up on some things, I read this verse, and I don't know why, but it just hits me different. I hang out there for a moment. There's a part of me that's always God, I long for peace. Life is busy, things are happening, and so there's just kind of a pull or a constant awareness that sometimes I'm lacking here. And so personally, I'm seeking it, reading about it, studying it. And so usually when something hits, I usually go to some of my authors, some of my scholars that I read and follow just because I trust them. And so I'm searching through some of their things. And this one guy that I always lean on, he starts this article, obviously calling it, blessed are the peacemakers. And he writes out 2 sentences. And those 2 sentences, just sit heavy on my heart. He writes these words. He says, peacekeeping avoids conflict. peacemaking steps into it. And it just sit. Like, there's a lot of times in my life where I so desperately long for peace that how I get it is by avoidance, right? Hey, if you just don't stir the pot, don't address the issue, don't speak to that, just leave it be. And hopefully nothing will happen, right? That's peacekeeping. And just so you know, ultimately, you don't get peace. You get a big pile of fill in the blank that's just sitting there, all right, waiting for you to open the door, waiting for someone to find it, see it, question it, and all the stuff that you've been holding on to falls out. And now you definitely don't have peace. You have chaos. You have fear, anxiety, depression, you have worry, you have anger, all the things that come along with, I've been holding on to this, hiding this, keeping this away from, I've been keeping the peace by ignoring the stuff. But it can't be ignored forever. That's peacekeeping. And peacekeeping is not good for anyone. In fact, ultimately, it is destructive because what eventually happens is relationships are destroyed. You ever feel like you're supposed to say something to someone, but you never said it? And because you didn't say it or address it, that thing grew. Man, I can't say it now because it's been 2 months, but it's only irritating me more. Or whatever that thing was, it's now happening more often. Why didn't I just say something in the very beginning? Because I wanted to keep peace. But you didn't keep peace. You just allowed something to grow freely without you speaking into it, without you saying something. Peacekeeping is destructive. But peacemaking requires you to step into, all right? Peacemakers, they do something. Again, this is a mile marker. It's like this is where we're going, right? Peacemakers initiate reconciliation. When there's tension, we don't run from it, ignore it, or hide away from it. We step into it because we have a desire. Hey, Christ came to reconcile. And because his spirit now lives in me, a part of who I am should seek reconciliation. So as a peacemaker, someone who makes peace, we're always looking for a way to reconcile the situation. How can I make this right? How can I step into this and help this not hurt it? Now listen, some of us, we step into situations and we create problems, all right? So the second part of a peacemaker is someone who absorbs tension, doesn't create tension. There's a big difference, okay? Absorbing tension is stepping into a moment and saying, I understand. And I'm sorry. Not like, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I did something that hurt you. I'm sorry if I said something and it made you feel this way. Hey, I'm sorry that maybe my lack of speaking created an assumption in you that this is what I thought or I believed. Someone who absorbs tension, steps into, and doesn't hide from what's going on, actually meets it. And for most Christ followers, it's going to come with some act of forgiveness. Hey, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. I'm sorry that you're hurting. You absorb the tension that's going on. You don't resist it, fight it, flee from it. You don't create more of it. You simply step into it. And as you absorb it, you fight for reconciliation. Man, I completely understand how it could have made you feel this way. I totally understand that you are hurting, and I'm so sorry. Like, this is us acknowledging, stepping into, like, greeting tension and saying, hey, I want to speak peace into this. Peacemakers reflect a heart of a reconciliation or reconciling God. God reconciled with us, not we reconcile with him. The Bible teaches us while we were still sinners, while we were still pursuing our own way, doing our own thing, living our own life, Jesus died for us. He made a way when there was no way. And because Jesus did this for us, we now have the Holy Spirit in us. We're supposed to do the same to others. Like we're to pursue reconciliation. We're to reflect the heart of God by stepping in and saying, man, I'm so sorry. I never would want you to feel that way or think that way or believe that way. I would never want someone to hurt you like that. I never want my words or my actions to communicate this. When you step in and you absorb the tension, speak truth into that, and then work to reconcile, you are now a peacemaker. And now you're not building junk on top of junk. You're not holding on to things. You've resolved it. The problem with this, and then the hard part about a peacemaker, is that this kind of work often takes hits from both sides. Peacemakers step in, and sometimes you create sides or people who are now maybe pointed towards you. In this moment, I want you to remind yourself, if you're having to navigate tension, if you're having to try to make peace, I want you to think of John 13:35. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. In moments where you step in to make peace, to absorb tension, to seek reconciliation, to address issues, not hide from them, to resolve them, not stack them up, you might become the source of some of those arrows. You might become the source of some hurtful words or actions. It's in those moments I want you to recognize and realize, hey, Jesus, I'm doing this because you did this for me. And my love for these people reveals to them my desire to follow you. Like, this is what a peacemaker does. This is how we all should be peacemakers. And again, like for me personally, this is where work really steps into play. I tend to like blowing things up. I tend to like, let me see what I can do if I throw something into this. Like I lean that way. I'm naturally, and please forgive me for saying this, but I'm an instigator. Like I remember growing up, and it's very true. I had an older brother. I had a much older brother. And there were times where I would do something just to irritate the heck out of him, you know? It never ended up well. I always ended up bleeding or outside with, no clothes on and doors locked to the house, right? Like, true story, right? Like, it never, but it was just a natural thing in me. Like, I just want to see what happens, right? But that's not a transformed heart. And this church values, which is a biblical value, practice versus perfection. And so these are the places where you can name tension in your life. We live in a world that's very tense. You walk out of this place, you can find tension somewhere. Someone's mad at somebody. Someone pulled into the gas pump at Sam's backwards, right? Or they pulled their car into the right side, but the wrong side because they've stretched, like pet peeves, right? Like you can find tension in Walmart, at a gas station, in your house, you can find it. But what's rarely found is someone who tries to make peace, not avoid it, who steps into it with a care, a concern, a desire to reconcile it. See if you can make peace. The last one, verse 10. God blesses those who are persecuted. God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you're my followers. Be happy about it. Yay! You're going to leave today and be like, oh man, the Bible is so amazing. It told me to be happy when people mock me, when people persecute me. It says be happy about it. Be very glad, for a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. First of all, we're going to end that last verse. Whenever you go through persecution for being a Christ follower, like when you can't do things that people do because you know that's not what Jesus would do. When you don't act, think, say, speak, choose what other people choose, and you received mocking or laughter or isolation, or maybe you've been pushed aside or neglected because you didn't act the way that everyone else is acting, I just... hold on to this. You're not the first one to be persecuted. You're not the only one who's gone through that. You're not the only one who will ever go through that. You're not alone in persecution. You are choosing to walk the way of Jesus. Jesus is very clear. Living this way, living for him in this world, will not always be celebrated. It will sometimes be opposed. But persecution like living through it, enduring it, walking with it, though it's difficult, what it proves is faithfulness. What it reveals is your desire to live that pure, undiluted life. Hey, Jesus, you're all I got. You're my everything. I have offered you my life. I'm surrendered to you. And here's the thing. The reward is not immediate. When we live this way, these blessings that he speaks of, they're not always immediate. And they're not immediately comfortable either. But they are eternal. The blessings of peace, the blessings of joy, the blessings of having like an undivided, present, caring God who wants the best for you, even when it doesn't always feel good. And that's an eternal gift you've been giving that goes far beyond today, far beyond tomorrow. It goes on forever and ever. And so, what do we do with these Beatitudes? These mile markers for living in God's kingdom. I want to simplify it, because my hope is that one of these like hits. The peacemaker is stuck right now. It is in me. It is holding on to my heart. It is work that must be done in my life. I've got some work to do. I've got some evaluating, some self-reflecting. I've got some conversations to have with God, some journaling that needs to be done. That's for me. I want to give you some practical steps with these Beatitudes that you can start with. Maybe some questions you could ask. And so the first one is this. Choose mercy when you'd rather be right, because we love being right. It feels good. I told you so is one of those fun statements to say. It says, I'm right, you're wrong, and I didn't forget it. And neither can you now, right? Like, choose mercy when you'd rather be right. Ask yourself this question. Who do I need to release instead of repay? Who do you need to release instead of repay? I have a word that I use called shower conversations. And this is kind of my, like, when I need to give mercy, whenever I start having a shower conversation with you, I'm holding on to something. And a shower conversation is I'm talking to somebody that's not present. I'm in my shower and I'm telling them exactly how I feel, what I think. And if given the opportunity, I'm going to say all these things, which I would never, ever say, right? I'd never say those things. It's just in the shower, you can't compete with me. Like, you can argue all you want, but I got the next best thing. In fact, in all of my shower conversations, you lose, I win. It's amazing, right? This is when mercy needs to be offered. This is when you need to release someone because you're repaying them in your mind. And what we're going to see in a little bit, not yet, as Jesus begins to unfold what living in his kingdom is like, is that sometimes just thinking something is worse than actually doing it. It's much easier to release. It's much less harmful than repaying. All right. The second thing I'll say, pursue a pure heart in a distracted world. Ask yourself this question. What is competing for my devotion? Listen, everything is competing for your time. Okay? Like, this world wants your attention. Because if you give it your attention, they've got something from you. We live in an algorithm-based world too, so now it's like looking at what you look at, it's watching what you watch, and it's paying attention to what you pay attention to, and then it feeds you those things, right? Have you ever said something and the next thing you know, like advertisements are showing up? Like, whoa, I just talked about that, right? That's the world we live in. Have you ever picked up your phone from a ding, ting, a ring, and next thing you know, you're on YouTube? And YouTube got you? Like 12 videos later, you're like, oh my gosh, you know? It's interesting to watch. I mean, like, I see it all the time. Like, people will like have their phone, they'll pick it up, and next thing you know, they're like, oh gosh, like it's like the ring or the precious in Lord of the Rings, you know? Like you can hold on to it and you like crave it because it's speaking your language, it's feeding you, and it's got a hold on you, and it's like the next video is even better. That made you cry. We're gonna make you sob next. You know, that made you laugh. Or you're gonna belly laugh, right? Like you like this. We're gonna just feed this full. You know, your heart's desire, and hours disappear, right? Hours are gone of your attention. Like that's just technology. I haven't mentioned money. But we got a little bit of money. I want more money. more money gets me this. Well, if I get this, how did I get that, right? Work sings my praises. They affirm me. They tell me what a good job I've done. I don't feel that anywhere else, so I'm going to work harder. In fact, I'm going to sacrifice everything I know because work fills me. It completes me. Years go by and you wonder why you have no friends or family. Why is your marriage devoured? Why are your kids not? Hey, because I got consumed with work. Why? Because the world longs for your attention. It needs your devotion. In fact, let's just be honest with you. Satan is the father of lies. He is the ruler of this world we live in. And his number one tactic is to get you distracted. If he can get you busy on something that's meaningless, makes you feel good about yourself, he's hooked you. Time will be gone, and your devotion will be spent. You'll have nothing left for Jesus. But a pure heart says, God, you're everything I need. You're sufficient. A pure heart says, God, I'm spiritually poor without you. You're my everything. I choose you over everything. Undiluted, you're all mine. Romans teaches us this idea to offer ourselves as a living sacrifice. We're fully and completely surrendered to him. This is what he's calling us to. It doesn't mean you naturally wake up tomorrow and you're like, oh, fully surrendered, cut it all off. Nope. You're not perfect. You're not pursuing perfection. You're pursuing a presence, an experience, knowledge, peace, joy. I get to be with you. I'm going to mess up sometimes, but I'm coming back. That's devotion. Devotion is, even when I make mistakes, I'm coming back. I'm so sorry. I'm going to pursue reconciliation, right? Even in my own brokenness, when I mess up, hey, God, I just want to pursue reconciliation. I'm sorry for what I've done against you. Do you forgive me? This is the heart of a Jesus follower, and this is the person who experiences his blessings, right? The third thing, step into conflict to make peace. Ask yourself, where am I avoiding something God is calling me to address? Is there a hard conversation you need to have? Is there forgiveness you need to offer? Is there something you need to say that you've been holding on to? What do you got to let go of? And I'll ask you this, what do you got to lose? Because if you choose peacekeeping instead of peacemaking, what you have isn't genuine. What you have isn't real. It's just simple and easy, but it ain't real. What are you avoiding that God's calling you to address? And my last one is this: stay faithful even when it costs you. And the question I tell you to ask is, where am I choosing approval over obedience? It is completely natural and normal for us to long for approval and to choose approval over doing what God's called us to do, okay? But just know this: chasing approval will always leave you empty. It'll always lead you to isolation, neglect. It always leads you to a desire for more. Approval is an addiction because it feels good. Obedience, though it's hard, though it requires sacrifice, will always lead to presence, to peace, to joy. It always leads to contentment. It always leaves you far from guilt or sin or shame. Obedience is walking with God in his protection, in his affirmation, with his presence. Doesn't mean it always feels good. It means it can hurt at times, but know there's healing in his presence. We just sing that song. There's eternal life in his presence, that what you go through here is not forever, that what forever is presence with him. Where are you choosing approval over obedience? These beatitudes, these mile markers that expand upon one another, are just indicators of what it looks like to live in his kingdom. And so Jesus is setting us up for this shift. I mean, he's about to turn everything upside down, right? Like, hey, you believe this, but this is the truth. You thought this, but this is the truth. That's where we're going, okay? So I encourage you to come back next week. But just know, for a short, quick snapshot, he's presented to us these very easy truths to know. Like, this is what it looks like, feels like to be in my kingdom. Are you living in his kingdom? Are there places where maybe you're selling yourself short? Are there some places that maybe you got some work to do? Are there some places you maybe need to have a conversation? Maybe you need to offer some forgiveness. Maybe you need to give some mercy. Maybe you need to stop avoiding what's coming. I don't know that answer, but you do. And this week you have an opportunity to practice it. Ask God, hey, that hooked. That stuck. That stung a little bit. Maybe that didn't feel the greatest, whatever it is. Maybe there's a little bit of conviction there, a tinge of, man, God, you're saying something, I hear you. Don't run from that. Step into it this week and see what he does. For many of you, you might be like me. You might be like, oh, this is great. I'm so excited. And your motivation has a shelf life of about 24 hours. And so if you don't do something with it pretty quickly, it's going to be gone tomorrow. Okay? By breakfast time, it's out. If there's something in you, like, I need to do something, my encouragement to you is to say something. Get it out of you. So just a moment, I'll pray. There'll be a prayer team, people up here. There'll be 5 or 6 people up here. Their desire is to be whatever you need. If you need to speak something, confess something, say something, come and say it. If you have questions or concerns or fears, words, say it. If you need prayer, let them pray for you. The truth is this, if you let it go by speaking it, it's something you don't have to hold on to anymore. And now you have a built-in accountability. I've said something, I got to do something, right? So maybe this week you don't just hang out, don't rush out to get coffee, don't rush out to, your car. It's out there, I promise you. Maybe this week you come and let someone talk to you. Maybe you come and let someone pray for you. I promise you won't ever regret it. Let me pray for us. God, thanks for the day. Thanks for the truth of your word, and thanks for the practical wisdom that you give us. The understanding of what it's like to live in your kingdom. That there are parameters, there are ideas set before us that we would know, not be confused or lack understanding. We know what it's like living in your kingdom. These are attributes of a Christ follower. So God, help us this week display mercy. Help us understand that persecution is not this symbol that we're doing something wrong, but it's understanding that, God, we live in a world that sometimes resists you. God, help us be peacemakers, to desire peace because you've reconciled with us, God, so we should reconcile with others. And God, help us seek purity. God, a moral mindset, and understanding that, God, we are 100% yours, solely yours, not divided in any way. God, we are undiluted in our devotion to you. And God, if there is anything stealing our attention, make us aware. Help us create space in our schedule just to ask, is there anything that's competing for my devotion to you? And God, would you give us the strength to confess it and move beyond it, to ask for help and accountability to let it go. God, help us walk with you and live with your kingdom. We love you, Jesus. In your name I pray. Amen. Man, thanks so much for being here. Love you guys. You're dismissed.